Okay, welcome in one and all. I'm now going to do my previews for Thursday night's matchup in the NHL. So starting things off in Buffalo, the Sabres are hosting the Calgary Flames. The Sabres are coming into this matchup 1-2-0. The Flames have also played 3 games. They are sitting at 1-1-1. If I had to make my bold prediction on this one, I think the Flames might be able to sneak this victory out in Buffalo. I think it's going to be a close contest. It honestly could go to like an overtime or shootout, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. I believe both these teams are going to be competitive, and I just don't see one team blowing out the other. So I believe the Calgary Flames should secure their second win of the season. Our next matchup takes place in sunny Florida. Where we have an interesting matchup to say the least. These two teams both played in the Eastern Conference semifinals just a season ago. The Toronto Maple Leafs are heading into Florida. And obviously, the Florida Panthers knocked the Leafs out in 5 games last season, so I'm sure the Leafs have a bit of a chip on their shoulder coming into this particular matchup. The Leafs are sitting at 2-1-0 on the season, while the Panthers are sitting at 1-2-0. So if the Panthers win, they can obviously tie things up. And sorry, if the Panthers win, they'll obviously have the same record as the Leafs, and they both theoretically should be at 500, but I got a funny feeling the Leafs are going to get the victory in this particular matchup. So they should get their third win of the season. Our next matchup takes place in New York, where the Nashville Predators are taking on the New York Rangers. The Predators are kind of, how do you put it, in a bit of a slump. They're starting the season off 1-3-0, while the Rangers are sitting at 2-1-0. So I always like to go with the favorite team in this matchup. I do believe that the Rangers should be able to get the victory over the Predators in this particular matchup. Our next matchup also takes place in Florida, but it's not the Panthers. As we have the Vancouver Canucks and the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Vancouver Canucks are sitting at 2-1-0 on this season after suffering their first loss of the year against the Flyers, while the Tampa Bay Lightning are struggling to say the least, 1-2-1 after 4 games. So they have only had two out of a possible. Hold on a second. 3 out of a possible. Oh my gosh. 4, 6, 8. 3 out of a possible 8 points. I do apologize after 4 games. So, like I said, if they had their Vasilevsky in that, I would strongly consider them to be again favorites in the Atlantic. But because they've lost by far, in my opinion, with their best goaltender in the league, it's a struggle to say the least for the Lightning. So I got a funny feeling the Canucks most likely will bounce back and secure their third win of the year. Speaking of Philly, they're coming up right away. Where we have the Edmonton Oilers, who are heading into Pennsylvania to take on the Flyers. The Flyers are sitting at 2-1-0 on the season, while the Edmonton Oilers just got their first win, and they are sitting at 1-2-0 on the year. I will just say this: if the Flyers can keep this game at 5-on-5, they should be able to pull out a victory. But if they start getting into penalty trouble, obviously we know the Oilers had the best power play in the league last season, that the Oilers could easily wipe the floor with the Flyers. Obviously, you look at their game against the Nashville Predators, and I think they scored 3, maybe 4 power play goals. So if they get on the power play, it's pretty much like game over at that point. So I think the Oilers should be able to secure their second win of the season. But as I said previously, if the Flyers can keep this game 5-on-5 and keep McDavid in check, keyword, keep McDavid in check, they might be able to pull this victory off. But my gut is telling me the Oilers should be able to get their record back to 500. Our next matchup takes place in Minneapolis, where we have the Los Angeles Kings taking on the Minnesota Wild. The Kings got their first win of the season. They are sitting at 1-1-1, while Minnesota is sitting at 2-1-0 after their victory over the Habs. I want to give the edge to the Kings in this matchup. I've been doubting them for the first few games of the season, and I even doubted them when they got their first win. But I feel that if they can play as well as they did against the Jets, anything can happen on any given night. So I will give the edge to the Kings in this particular matchup. Our next one takes place in Missouri, where we have two teams from the Central who are playing in St. Louis, who are hosting the Arizona Coyotes. Coyotes are sitting at 1-2-0 on the season, while the Blues are sitting at 1-0-1. I don't want to say this is going to be an upset, but I got a hunch that the Coyotes might be able to pull this one out of the bag. Again, it's still young in the season, and anything can happen on any given night. And if I had to go with one potential upset, I think this could be that matchup. Our next matchup takes place in Manitoba, where we have two teams that are extremely familiar with each other between the Vegas Golden Knights and the Winnipeg Jets. The Vegas are one of the few teams that are still undefeated on the season. They are sitting at 4-0-0, while the Winnipeg Jets are sitting at 1-2-0 on this young campaign. As much as I want to believe that the Jets could pull this victory off, I just feel that Vegas has had their number in recent years. Obviously, last year they knocked the Jets out of the first round in 5 games. And if you want to go back as far as 2018, when 2017, 2018, when Vegas first came in the league, they obviously beat the Jets in the Western Conference Final to advance to the Stanley Cup Final that year. So I feel that there's just something about this Golden Knights team that they always have certain teams' numbers, and the Jets are in that category. So I believe the Vegas Golden Knights should still be undefeated after this matchup. Our next game takes place in California, where we have the Dallas Stars, who are playing the Anaheim Ducks. The Stars are sitting at 1-0-1 on the season, while the Ducks are at 1-1-0. I'm going to give the edge to the Ducks in this one. I just feel that they should be able to pull this one out. Playing at home can obviously give you an advantage, especially with a crowd behind you. So I believe the Ducks will get the victory against the Stars. Our next matchup takes place in Seattle, where we have the surging Carolina Hurricanes, who are playing against the Kraken. The Hurricanes are sitting at 3-1-0 thus far, and the Kraken have yet to get a victory. They are sitting at 0-3-1. I'm going to give the edge to the Hurricanes in this matchup. I just think they are a team that, again, I've said this in almost all my videos whenever I'm previewing or reviewing this team, that they are a team of destiny. I believe this could honestly be the year that they crack through, and they've been so competitive the last 3 years when it comes to making the postseason and a potential run. Obviously, they keep getting stopped in the second round, but I don't know. This team is just on fire, to say the least, and I'm going to give the edge to the Hurricanes in this matchup. And even though I thought the Kraken would be able to get back into the postseason, yes, I know we're still 78 games away from finding out where they're at in the standings, but I feel if you get off to a very, very poor start, it's hard to climb up in those standings, because if you start off on a 5-game losing streak, that means you got to win 5 games just to get back to 500. And by that point, who knows where you're at in the standings and what teams you still have to climb over in this crazy league of ours. So I believe the Hurricanes should get the victory against the Seattle Kraken. Our next matchup takes place in Denver, where we have two teams from the Central Division. The Chicago Blackhawks are taking on the Colorado Avalanche. The Blackhawks are coming into this matchup after 4 games. They're still at 500, 2-2-0, while the Avalanche, as I said, are one of the few teams that are still undefeated in the league at 3-0-0. I'm going to give the edge to the Avalanche in this one. I just believe, again, On paper, they are a better team, and as long as they have McKinnon and McCarr and Rantanen on their team and they're healthy, they're going to be a very dangerous team for many years to come. And the final matchup takes place back in California, where we have the San Jose Sharks, and they are hosting one of the last teams that are still undefeated in the Boston Bruins. The Bruins are sitting at 2-0-0 on the season, while the Sharks are sitting at 0-2-1. I'm going to give the edge to the Bruins in this matchup. I just think, again, they're a very good team. Yes, they don't have Bergeron, they don't have Krejci, and I don't think they're going to be as dominant as they were last season when they won the President's Trophy and had an incredible season. But I still believe they're going to be very competitive in that Atlantic division. So I'll give the edge to the Bruins in this matchup, and I think they'll still be undefeated by season's end. As always, if you like this type of content, feel free to hit that sub button. I'd be very grateful and be very appreciative at the same time. And as always, take care.